hate. That's why I work every day. I'll be making money till I'm in my grave. Don't care what they say. I'll buy time with my money. Back to the bank, cause it's funny. The money keep coming. I manifest it. See these lyrics and you'll get it. I'm the bank, come invest it. I attract and I have it. Money finds me attractive. I'm the type to make commas, turn a profit. I'm the boss with the Wonka, but it ain't chocolate. I'm just being honest, I work for this shit. I'm usually modest, but it's being lit. So I'm going off the list, talking my shit. Yeah, I'ma be the hottest designer in drip. I'm swimming with the waters, I gotta admit that I'm usually modest, but I work hard for my shit. I do the work, yeah, I do it till it hurts. I'll invest in my future, I'll invest in my purse. I wanna be so rich, life changes, and I don't ever think about how much I just pay it. Yeah, it's a dream, yeah, it's everything dream. Live on top, don't stop till you got everything. But there's balance, cause this life is a challenge. You gotta live in the now, while building up the challenge. Turn a profit, I'm the boss with the Wonka, but it ain't chocolate. I'm just being honest, I work for this shit. I'm usually modest, but it's being lit. So I'm going off the list, talking my shit. Yeah, I'ma be the hottest designer in drip. I'm just coming with the waters, I gotta admit that I'm usually modest, but I work hard for my shit. It's not about the destination, it's about the journey. So keep working till it's hurting, cause that's when you start deserving everything you want, everything you need. Trust the process, you got to keep on working till you bleed. Yeah, been there, yeah, done that. 10 long years of breaking my back, but now I'm up here, never looking back. I got more dreams that I wanna go with. Keep on going, keep on moving, never give up. I'll keep going, I can prove just what I made of. I got that fire in me, got that desire. I'm never tired, I'll be pushing till I'm bottom free. I was made to break away from the pack, to challenge, to fight, and to fight my own path. This world wasn't made for the weak, they don't last. Survival of the fittest, so be vicious and attack. I'm the type to make commas, turn a profit. I'm the boss with the Wonka, but it ain't chocolate. I'm just being honest, I work for this shit. I'm usually modest, but it's being lit. So I'm going off the list, talking my shit. Yeah, I'ma be the hottest designer in drip. I'm just coming with the waters, I gotta admit that I'm usually modest, but I work hard for my shit.
Yo, I just gotta hit it one time. Let's go. Better hit the gas for a minute, no cap, no limit. I attack till I finish that track, till I get it, got my cash on liquid, never pass my limit. Too fast when I'm spitting, read it back, now they get it back. Flipping that switch as I'm hitting these bars, I can get that spit, I get some big old bars. These kids, no kidding, I've been winning, listening, getting my list like dinner while I'm hitting on a mission. Ooh, spicy, I know they like me, but I got a whitey, she be real nice to me, no one works like me. Got a different mindset, my grid is pricey, got a different psyche. Ooh, with your icy, living life nicely, living precisely, living divinely, manifest wisely. All I know is that I've been living for the sightseeing, been around the world for a visit, first class ticket. Man, I'm in it, man, I'm winning. I don't have no limit. I want it, then I get it. If want it, then I should get it. I ain't never done finished. I'm a giver. I've been giving first place. I've been winning 6 shots. I'm winning it, but I still keep ripping and I still keep hitting 2 ways. I'm splitting all in. I'm risking it all. Yeah, I don't ever fall. Yeah, but if I do, I get back up, stand tall. Yeah, I want it all. I want it a good life. I don't think small. Yeah, I'ma be big one. See me taking off runway. My name up the way someday. Looking at the color, looking at you. I came here to play.
Just watch me as I prove it.
the chase of the honey. I set the pace when I'm running. I always pay for the one, and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, don't need a budget. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted. Stay humble. Now wake up. It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he's no friend to me. It's not working out, baby. It's the chemistry. It's time to break up. I can make a better me. Better believe in your mind, 'cause it's everything. You can mold, shape, find almost anything. All it takes is some time and some clarity to find your identity. It's mind over everything. And when I feel like this, I'm a hero. When I feel like this, I'm a hero. When I feel like this, I'm a hero. When I feel like this, I'm a
All right. Welcome everyone. Week 1 podcast. Tyler here of the probably most lucky or luckiest team in the league right now. But I'm 3-0, so no one can hate on me. And then we got Cal, maybe on the other end of the spectrum. How you doing, my man?
Yeah, I wouldn't say. I don't want to say like I got exactly what I deserve. Like maybe you lucked into something, but I'm right where I'm probably supposed to be.
As it should be.
Even as we speak right now, I'm still losing all my matchups. So I'm pretty much over it, and it's like a day into. Yeah, it was a very long week for me. Even though it was already a long week, it just felt longer.
So what you're saying is that you're looking forward to June 1st?
No, I'm in it to win it right now.
Awesome. Man.
That's what I'm going to say to save face for the whole PR campaign I got to do. But overall, it's not looking too pretty. I must say that.
Save the season ticket holders, maybe. Try to give them something to hang around for.
Please buy the $30 nachos we have upstairs.
Well, we got an awesome slate tonight, but I know you had just messaged me beforehand with what it sounds like to be some breaking news. So feel free to share that.
Yeah, huge news. Finally, I guess something happened. I don't know what clouds broke out. Maybe it was a solar eclipse that maybe got Mike Elias off his behind.
Had to be.
Finally got some sense knocked into him. And Jackson Holiday getting promoted. The child gets called up. I don't think he has a beard yet, and he's going to be playing in the show. It was needed from opening day. I don't even think they don't even get the service time. So not only did they just piss everybody off, now they don't even get the year that they wanted. So a lose-lose as far as the whole organization is concerned. But honestly, I'm just jacked. I'm just excited to see him up there anyways. Promote the whole Norfolk Tide team while you're at it. Just get them all up there.
Might as well at this point, right? I mean, they have so many names there. It's just like, my goodness. But yeah, obviously I think, everyone who knows anything about baseball knows that this is not only just big news in general for the Orioles, but big news for baseball. It'll be really interesting to see, kind of the role he plays. I think they already have, a crowded team as it is. And so it'll be really interesting to see, are they really truly calling him up, right? Or is it just kind of a call up cup of coffee type, call up? That'll be really interesting to see, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they really want Tony Kemp there. I think that's really what they're trying to do here.
I want Tony Kemp there. I have shares. Okay.
I have Urias. So you think I don't want? You think I'm not sweating over here right now? It's not cool. Like as nice as it is, someone's got to lose their job.
I feel like somehow too, Austin Hayes is somehow going to continue to lose more playing time as well, just as a result of this, because it just seems like whenever anyone calls up, regardless of team, he loses playing time somehow. So.
Yeah, and Kirsted's averaging like 3 RBIs a game, so that's another guy knocking down the door.
Exactly.
So, not good.
But anyway, so some awesome breaking news, obviously, to start off the show. But tonight, just to kind of give a rundown of what we're going to go through. We're going to kick it off with our power rankings. Obviously, I'm going to reveal our new and improved formula, which again really isn't anything too crazy. I put some numbers together. I took some of the feedback that I've gotten over the past couple of years and hopefully created something that maybe people will be a little happier with in a sense. I'm sure no one will be happy per usual, but it'll be interesting at least to talk about. So we'll go over that, kind of give our sort of maybe breakdowns in the power rankings themselves, and then just kind of go from there. We'll talk about transactions or lack thereof throughout the league, and then we'll kind of just take a look. I'll pull up our Fantrax standings, kind of take a look at where we're at, and look at a preview for some of the matchups next week as well. So let's move into the power rankings. Unless you got something else to add, I guess we'll just move right into it.
No, let's see them. I'm ready.
All right, so we'll move over here. I'll pull the screen up here. I'm gonna see if let's see if we can zoom out a little bit, maybe. See if I can get it. There we go. Get it all on one screen there. So I'm hoping you guys can see that okay. But yeah, essentially how before you look at this, these are the rankings. So, I'm revealing them all at once. But before we kind of maybe dive into the numbers and what they mean and stuff, you'll notice that I have, if you scroll all the way over, I have the same modifiers essentially that we've had. We have your weekly strength of schedule, kind of on average again. So, are you playing a harder schedule, weaker schedule, etc.? That still is playing a role. You have the roto score modifier. So, are you scoring points, right? Obviously, the more points you score, the higher ranking you're going to get there. And then the new and improved modifier for this year that I know Seth from the Mariners has talked about multiple times, but there have been other people who have talked about it as well. But I've added a hot and cold modifier is essentially what I decided to call it. So, it's going to take the last 3 weeks of competition into account, and I'm going to look at your record from the past 3 weeks, and you're going to get a score based on that. And then I'm also going to look at the amount of points that you've scored over the last 3 weeks. You're going to get a score on that. And then each team is going to be ranked and given a final hot and cold modifier. So that'll all be listed here essentially. And as you can see, with it being week 1, obviously we only have 1 week of data as opposed to 3 weeks. So the modifier, I think, actually only switched 2 teams in the whole power ranking. So it didn't do much this week, but again, beginning of the season. So thoughts on that?
Honestly, I really do like it. I like the hot and cold thing. It throws in. I do think it does matter. I think it throws in just another factor throughout the whole process. Honestly, I kind of want to dig into these rankings. I got a few that kind of surprised me a little bit. Some names I would not expect to see, but overall, I like the new format. I think it does. Just looking at the teams that we're looking at now, I think it gives a good overview of who is good after the first week.
Yeah,
it seems pretty fair.
Yeah, I felt pretty good about it as well. I think you look through just week 1 in terms of the average score against. The first thing to obviously point out is my average against was like, I think 25 points lower than the next closest, or something like that. So I had a very lucky week to be able to be on here, but this is the first time I've ever been in the red, which makes me feel really bad about myself. So. And I know I saw Zach commenting on it too. Zach, I'm glad you're happy being 1 position lower than me, and not mad about that. So, but yeah, so kind of a couple of things, I guess I wanted to point out, and then, maybe we can kind of go back and forth about some of the things we saw. The big kind of broad overview stuff that I thought was kind of interesting. A lot of new faces in the top 10. Some teams that we really traditionally either haven't seen at all in the top 10. Teams like the Astros, I don't believe have ever been up in top 10. And gotta shout out my boy Allen for being in the top 10 as well, hitting number 9. He's got to be super happy, at least with how his team played. It's awesome, obviously, to see that. Those are the kind of things we want to see, right? Week 1, you see a team that struggled for 3 years, never, I don't think, ever making it out of the red, and now starting year 4 finally in the top 10. So I think that's awesome. But and then I also mentioned in here the Yankees, the Tigers, and the Padres. I think all 3 have been in the top 10 at some point, but not necessarily consistently. There have been times where they've dropped out as well. So to see all of them up there as well was really cool. Anything specific about, top 10, bottom 10, or anything from you?
Yeah, I'd say in the top 10, definitely a little bit of AL Beast going on here. We got, let's see, 3 of the AL East teams in the top 5. That is, yeah, that's crazy numbers being put up there. The Allen thing, you took it right out of my mouth there. Like, that was huge. Did not expect to see him in the green. Yep. He had a great first week, put up like almost 450 points or whatever. Crazy. Yeah, would not have expected that. I don't even know if he was really expecting it from that team. But I mean, I would love to see him sustain it. I mean, I think we're all kind of rooting for him to make a good playoff run.
100%.
And then the Yellow's got a lot of some weird names going on in the mix here. So we have a 0-3 Nationals team, by the way.
Yep, pretty
just
crazy.
Chilling there at number 13. And then the Pirates, Phillies, and Cardinals, which I think were 3 teams that we all kind of touted going into the season.
Yep.
All kind of middling about. Did not expect that at all.
I think the interesting point or thing to point out about that as well is you look at least for Pittsburgh and Philly, like they didn't really face tough competition by any means in terms of average score during the week. So, that really obviously isn't helping them out there at all either. And Jeff, I think it goes to show like he did face some stiffer competition. And so for him to be this low, that shows you kind of maybe how poorly he performed in week 1, which, one of the things we'll talk about a little later, to foreshadow a little bit, just talking about injuries and that kind of stuff. That's obviously played a big role as well. And, I, again, will call out myself for picking myself to win the Central, and I'm literally in the red. So I know Brendan will be happy to hear me say that. But obviously John having a massive week as well is really, really awesome to see. So I'm hoping it'll continue to be a competition with at least the 3 of us this year. A couple other things. One other thing I mentioned just in general, speaking of projections and me picking myself to win, I think my projections just in general are already scuffed. A lot of what I already had projected is not looking great. Again, it's only week 1. It's very little data, right? A lot can change. But I think the interesting part, again, to kind of foreshadow the transactions piece that we're going to talk about later, is so far, because we haven't seen a whole lot of movement, a whole lot of change, who will this kind of be persistent, right? Unless guys come out of nowhere, right, and start competing, is that going to have a big impact? I had said the Dodgers clearly dominant. Obviously, that's a pretty easy to see at the top. And then really the last thing is did the long week have an impact? Right? Were some of these teams just able to get more starts? Were they able to get more at bats? Whatever it might be. Do they just have more depth? That a lot will be told, I think, in weeks 2 and weeks 3 when it's a normal week to see kind of how things even out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd probably add one more thing as far as a surprising name in the green, and that'd be the Astros. I didn't think it'd be a bad team. I didn't think it'd be a green team.
Yeah,
that's huge turnaround, I think. And you look at their week that they had. Their pitching just all showed out throughout. Yeah. Even the bullpen. I don't think there's really a bullpen guy that got under like 10 points throughout the week. Which coming from especially the names like Jeff Hoffman and Kitteridge, Joe Boyle getting 17 points. I don't know where that's coming from. Yeah. But I'd say overall a pretty great week. I don't know how sustainable it is throughout the whole season, but I mean that's a strong first impression in the AL West.
Well, I think to your point too, just 2 brand new owners between Evan for Houston and then Rourke for the Giants. Now, and again, both of them took over teams that most of us already thought were at least decent, right? I mean, Josh's team with the Giants, obviously, we all thought was a very good team. So it's not necessarily surprising, but the fact that they were able to do what they could in the draft to maintain what they already had, but then also prop themselves up to maintain a top 10 team. Again, I think just goes to show how great of a league this is with 30 owners that kind of know what they're doing. So that's really, really cool. Awesome. Well, I mean, if we want to move down, I think just into the red, I wanted to highlight a couple of those teams as well. Obviously, since we've kind of talked more about the top, or maybe I guss I should say yellow and red.
I'm okay leaving the red out of it.
I'm sure.
I think we both agree on that.
I'm sure you are. Yeah. I honestly though, a couple of things that I thought were interesting, just at the bottom of the yellow, Miami, Texas, and Chicago, 3 teams that I think a lot of us easily could have said could potentially be in the red. Obviously, Sam with Texas has been in the red for forever. It seems like Frank, I know, has kind of gone back and forth depending on where his team's been at. Miami, again, for those of us OG ABL members, know Miami, starting with Tony and now with obviously changing owners, it has been crazy up and down and kind of gone all over the place. So for them to even be up in the yellow, I think is a big deal as well. Yeah. And then a little bit surprising to see, a team like the A's with Dave be down in the red. Again, I think he maybe had a little bit of an off week, and I'm pretty sure you post the screenshot of how he's starting off this week already.
Yeah, which did not last long at all.
Yeah,
he has 130 points almost already. So it's not he's fine.
Nuts. So yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. Obviously, I think both of us hope that things go up from here. I will take 3 wins, but I think this week I play Jeff in St. Louis. I play. Who else do I play? I play another top 10 team as well. And then I can't remember who my third game is. I think third one will be a little bit closer, I think. But be interesting to see who knows. But anything else, any other takeaways from the power rankings that you had?
No, I think that about sums it up pretty well.
Okay. Awesome. Well, that's the power rankings for this week, guys. As I have always said before, this is not opinion-based. This has nothing to do with how I feel or how I think. Again, if you think I feel like my team is the 21st best team in the league, you're insane. I said I was going to win the division. So there's no feelings involved. It's strictly just a formula putting out numbers that's hopefully somewhat accurate. So it'll be updated every week. I'll post this in the chat after this as well, so everyone else can check it out. All right, let's move on to our next portion and talk about transactions. So I don't know if you're able to pull it up or if you have it pulled up, but I think, honestly, there's not a whole lot to talk about in general from a transaction standpoint, which is kind of, I guess, what I wanted to talk about in general. It's just there's been obviously some ads and drops, pretty much every day, which is to be expected in a league like this. There's been a lot of teams in the league that have spent a good amount of fab already, which, again, not surprising. That's pretty normal. But with the new fab rule in terms of the limit, it'll be interesting to see how much that helps/hurts teams, down the road. And then trading-wise, we've had, since the season started, we've had 5 trades, only one of which was a player-for-player trade. So
that's crazy.
It is very un-ABL-like.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I'll start there and kind of get your opinions there. We'll save injuries maybe for the next conversation here. But trades, additions, subtractions, fab, dump date. What are your thoughts?
It's not really surprising, but it's jarring. I don't know how to really describe it. Like, we all knew this was kind of gonna happen going into it with all the new rule changes. But it's just, it is so weird seeing the identity of the ABL just be totally flipped on its head. Because I would never have guessed that this league could have gone, I don't know, more than a day without 5 trades happening, let alone a full period. That's crazy.
Well, and especially beginning of the season, right? Like, I think
exactly.
That's my biggest takeaway is, like, beginning of the season is usually one of the times where there's the most trades.
Right.
Good or bad, but yeah, jarring, I think, is a good word.
Yeah, because there's so much roster movement from everybody, whether it be ABL teams or whether it be MLB teams. Everyone's got something that's got to move, or someone who lost their job, and none of that mattered. It seemed it didn't matter whether it be an injury, whether it be just like a final cut in spring training or a call up guy made the roster. No, it didn't matter. Just not a lot of movement overall. So very, very weird.
Yeah, I think to your point too, with the call-ups and people getting put on the IL like right at the beginning of the season and stuff, teams didn't really necessarily know what to do.
Right.
Again, with me, had Michael Massey been put on the IL early enough to where I maybe could have done something about it, I maybe would have been able to make a move or something like that. But there's second base is a somewhat thin position, and it's been hard to come by even being able to start a conversation with people. Right, because you're kind of having to trade value for value, and that's the only way to do it. Right, or I shouldn't say value for value. Present value for present value is kind of the only way that. In a sense, yes, to a lot of people. But yeah, it kind of takes a lot away from the dynasty piece of it. But
Yes.
But yeah, I think there is something to be said about the impact of having a dump date and people being potentially afraid to make a dump trade or something that might look like a dump trade and be called out for it. But which is kind of why I know I was someone who was kind of vocal in responding to people who were asking earlier on in the season about like, okay, what's a dump? What's that look like? And the easiest way to describe it was trading a minor leaguer for a major leaguer, right? Like that makes your team objectively worse. And again, right or wrong, I have a feeling that will be something that will certainly come up in EC discussions down the road, if not, ABL discussions in a week, 2 weeks, a month, whatever it is. It'll certainly be something I think that'll be discussed moving forward. But again, it is what it is right now. We all have to kind of adjust to it. I think the biggest thing will be, is this a 1 week thing, a 2 week thing, or is it really where we're going to have, 2 months of very little activity?
I mean, I don't know. I know the future, but I predict it's going to be a lot of this. And then June hits and the floodgates open.
Yeah.
It's just going to be a mad dash.
Yeah.
I just don't see what switch gets flipped where we all of a sudden start. I don't know, back to the old ABL, I guess, be the best way to kind of sum it up. I don't see a return to form, and there wasn't supposed to be a return to form.
Yeah.
A lot of these were put in place to kind of prevent a lot of the lack of dynasty, if you will, where it was just a merry-go-round of moves every single day, which it's fun. It's engaging, I guess. Yeah. But is it really what we're shooting for with a super realistic league? No, I don't think so. So I'm very happy with seeing these moves work.
Yeah.
Kind of sucked that we were dependent on MLB teams manipulating their rosters, I guess, to a certain extent.
Yeah.
I think that did hold up the process, but yeah, it's not going to change till June, I would assume.
Yeah, and I think everyone probably agrees with that because obviously the rules aren't going to change, right? There's nothing that unless someone figures out the formula, right? Like this, all right, this is a good trade. We traded some minors for some majors, and this wasn't a dump. And once I think one team figures it out, then maybe things would open up a little bit. But again, that's putting in a lot of work, right? That's you and I could sit and have a conversation about our two teams and trying to make a trade, but if it doesn't work for us, then it's going to be tough for everyone, right? And I think that's that's part of this whole conversation is the dump date that was put in. Is it that are we going for the realism, kind of like you said, or are there some tweaks or adjustments that could or should be made to cater it more towards the fantasy dynasty versus the realism dynasty, right? That's part of the conversation. But the second part of this then that I kind of really want to hit on is the injuries piece. Because very famously, a lot of owners came out in the chat and talked about how many injured players they had to start the year. Duke sent a screenshot of his pitching staff. There was just a bunch of guys that looked like they essentially had Tommy John to start the year. It's had a huge impact on a lot of teams. Again, we mentioned his team, Jeff's team, potentially starting slow because of these injuries, what kind of impact that's going to have on them. And their potentially inability to trade and make positional moves to fill those holes. But then on top of that, there's also less fab, right? So are some teams more scared from using their fab now to fill positions because they are worried that they may need some later when there's more injuries, right? So all of that, along with the dump date and everything, are certainly playing an impact. But what are your thoughts on injuries?
It does suck because I don't know if it matters because we have less roster spots now. Because honestly, what are you gonna fill that with? Like another relief pitcher?
Yep.
I don't think that's really a huge issue because you can't replace a Shane Bieber, which Allen just got absolutely smacked with. Like you can't replace that guy with whatever's available.
Yep.
Even under normal ABL circumstances, I don't think that it was really. I don't think you'd be able to fill that hole anyways. Even if you were just selling off assets, like future assets to get current players, I still don't know if people would do that.
Well, do you think there's something to be said about maybe it's not replacing a Bieber with a Bieber, but a Bieber with a Paul Blackburn?
Sure. I mean, yeah,
like
that's
becomes
feasible.
more of an option, because I think that's, realistically, again, we got 30, or I guess 31 if you count the Nationals, owners in this league who are smart enough to understand that losing a Shane Bieber is going to be very hard to replace, right?
Yeah.
But those same 31 owners also know that, like, hey, I have a couple of assets here. I have a couple of minors guys that I have extra depth at. Like, I could maybe move that guy and a bench player for a Paul Blackburn, to get from a team that has 6 starting pitchers already, and they're not doing great, and so they're willing to move him. But I think, again, based on our conversation, teams feel hamstrung that if they tried to make a trade like that, it would be considered a dump, right?
Yeah, that's going to be a dump.
One team's losing a starting pitcher and the other, and getting a bench player, right? Like that's probably going to be seen as a dump, you would think. So I think that's the hardest part for most teams. It's just replacing in general, as opposed to equal for equal. But cool. All right. Well, anything else transaction wise you wanted to hit on or talk about?
I'm going to kind of out myself here as far as just like a player that I had liked. But it's just kind of a testament how good this league is. It looks like I was on Twitter and I saw this prospect profile on like just this young 19-year-old Nayball. I'm like, you know what? I'll take a flyer on him. I was trying to figure out what prospect I'd cut for him, getting ready to do all that. I assumed he wasn't owned in ABL. I go to look and he was claimed that morning.
Oh boy!
Like it was just like this league is nuts.
So
there's no room to breathe.
Someone follows the same accounts as you do, is what you're saying.
Exactly. I was just like, what the heck? I can't breathe in this league. But no, I realized I'm like, ABL kind of rocks. There's not really any other league that you're scrounging for 19-year-olds in A-ball 4 games into the season. I mean, I love it.
It's so classic.
The number one transaction I can probably think of right now, but yeah, absolutely.
That along with, I just, in doing prep and stuff for this, I wanted to look through some of the transactions and stuff, and just seeing that, a guy like Kevin Newman is claimed off the waivers. Like,
so
just
funny.
A guy literally feels like he's been playing since the 90s, and he just is getting picked up because, he's on an Arizona team. He's got 3 position eligibility, and who knows if he plays once a week, twice a week, money, right? You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy. And then a guy like Trey Mancini can't find a team and just gets dropped. Like, what world do we live in right now? Like,
that is nuts. But there's still a couple good ads I've seen. Like Joey Bart could be a good one.
A ton of ads on here are great.
Yeah. Like Mike Ciani, I'm a little bit partial to, only just because Cardinals will just use him randomly. He's going to be like the Taylor Motter role, where he just gets thrown into random games. But that's at bats. I mean, you don't get at bats on the waiver wire. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah, David Hamilton.
I was just about to bring up David Hamilton.
Like,
these are now that Story's gone, that's going to be a ton of ABs.
Yeah. Well, so Rami Gonzalez got picked up. Like,
huge.
It's just crazy.
And Jesse Chavez, like, don't overlook Jesse, because he's on the Braves again, and his only job as a player is to be good on the Braves and get traded.
I mean, be bad. Look at that. I mean, you got he's pitched in 3 games so far.
Yeah.
It's honestly shot with how much he's pitching. It's shocking he doesn't have the starting pitcher designation too. But yeah, I mean, look at that. Like, I would take that from just a random relief pitcher. Like, that's not bad at all. And who knows, maybe he'll work his way into a few holds here and there. And I mean, I'm pretty sure, is it this league? I can't remember if it's this league or ABL4. Yeah, I have Jose Urena in this league, who he came in and pitched 4 innings for Texas.
Oof, that's a lot.
He got a quality start out of it in ABL4. And he got me 15.5 points.
Jeez.
4 innings pitched, 4 strikeouts, 15.5 points.
That's nuts off the wire.
Crazy. And then was it this league as well? Did Peralta get and then Peralta for the Padres, he pitched an inning and picked up a win. 5.5 points. Like, what I mean? Like, these just random dudes, right? So
yeah, and they're just gonna keep popping up. They really do. Like, the relievers and the catchers are just gonna keep popping up out of the hole somewhere.
Yeah.
But it's the position player guys that are just dime a dozen.
Oh my gosh.
Like the Newman, the Hamiltons. I mean, those guys are golden.
Yeah. Talk about second baseman too. Like, I missed out on all of them. Like, I literally don't have a starting second baseman because of it. So
yeah, absolutely.
All right, well, let's move on to our last section here. Just kind of take a look at the standings, talk about next week, give a preview of some of the matchups that we like. Again, we kind of looked at the power rankings already, which are sort of reminiscent of the rankings, except like you look at, Pittsburgh, they went 3-0, but they're middle of the power rankings. Again, I'm 3-0 at 21st overall. But what I want to do is just kind of go division by division. I think that's kind of the best way we can look at it and compare.
Yeah.
We talked about AL Central already. Unfortunately, for Mark and Tom, I think this is going to be a pretty consistent theme this year. For them, I think they're another one of those teams, the hurry up and wait for June 1st type of thing.
Yeah.
And then, I think I'm hoping, obviously this can stay competitive. We'll see how it goes. But I think John, with how many points he scored, if his team keeps doing that, he's not going to be below 500 for very long.
Yeah, such a brutal week for John to put up put up massive points, and his opponents were averaging like 479 points against him. How do you even win against that? So lucky to pull out a win.
Insane,
honestly, but still, top 5 in scoring and gets dealt that hand is horrible. Yeah, that sucks.
AL East, talked about already. 3 top 5 teams, pretty crazy, and not to mention my pick to win the East, Boston. Yeah, going 2-1, not having like an amazing week, but still doing well, going 2-1. Not bad at all. So, good little division race there early on. AL West, unfortunately for you guys, didn't look super great record wise, 3-0-3 teams. But you got to assume Dave's going to be moving up. Sam's obviously got a decent team, and then if you can figure it out, put some stuff together.
I'm hanging out.
It's gonna be.
It's a race. We're gonna get some wins. We're gonna string together a few wins. I got the boys in the clubhouse right now. I knocked over a trash can. I did a little silence break. I said, "That's what losing sounds like." That's what I did to him. So we're gonna get them all riled up.
Classic. I love it. Yeah, it'll be obviously. I think that's again very early, very little data, but could be a division to watch. It could be a 5-team type of race this year, which would be really cool to see.
Yeah.
Moving to the NL side of things, obviously very surprising. We talked for a long time early on in this league. I feel like you were in here still, or by the time this, we kind of stopped talking about how strong the NL Central was, you had been in here already. But certainly early on, with Duke and Jeff in there, you have to assume they're going to pick it up. They'll be better. I mean, even Zach as well. I know he seems to have pretty low standards for his team as well. But I think the expectation is he certainly will compete. It's obviously nice to see Frank and Lenny both get wins too for how low they've been at times. So I'm sure it will continue to be as competitive as always. The rebirth division, I think, is what I'm going to call in the NL East. Absolutely insane that the Nationals are 0-3. My dark horse in the NL. Absolutely crazy. They're 0-3. That I would assume will change. I was a little surprised Mets went 0-3. I think team maybe underperformed a little bit, but other than that, Philly 2-1, Miami 2-1, Atlanta 2-1, pretty normal. Straight across the board. It'll just be interesting to see. Can people compete right for the full season in that division? Because it always seems like one team kind of runs away with it. So can they make it a more than one team?
The Nationals here look even worse. Like the 0-3 just sticks out like a sore thumb when you look at the points for. Just a tough week. They'll be fine. And this division looks like it might be. I don't know. It's a little too early to call, but it might be the tightest throughout, top to bottom.
Could be. Yeah.
So we'll see how it plays out. But I honestly like this division as a full season storyline.
Yeah, definitely. Even with Matt and the Mets, like he's going to do stuff.
Yeah, that's not going to stick around.
Come June 1st, he'll make some moves and
he'll be fine.
Stuff. And then lastly, NL West. Again, Dodgers, no surprise, 3-0, but great again to see Rourke 3-0, keeping the strong Giants alive. And then again, Allen going 1-2 is just crazy. Even the Padres with a loss with how good of a week they had. Is a little surprising. And then, we know Arizona had a good team, still has the potential to be good there. I think they're probably on the outside looking in, just based on roster construction and stuff. But, I would love to see Colorado, be up here at the end of the season. That would, as a non-biased observer, as an owner of a team in the other league, I would love to see Allen at the top there because this league's better when Allen is competing. So
Absolutely.
I'll throw
Heck
that
of a
out
hill
there.
to climb, though. I mean, that's not an
Yes.
easy place to be.
Yes.
Just to be thrown in the mix with the Giants and Dodgers. But
Yes.
I mean, I'm the same boat as you are. I mean, it would be great to see a playoff run.
Yeah. All right. So last thing we'll look at here, I'll pull up the weekly schedule if I can find it. I thought, head-to-head schedule. There we go. So some matchups. I don't know if you have any specific matchups you were going to look at. I'm going to just pull up some here, and maybe you can give me your reactions to them. So first team I pulled up was Seattle. They have, a top 10 ranked team right now. They have two big games against Kansas City and San Diego. And then obviously Atlanta is a good team as well. So they really have kind of three good games this week. So I thought those should all be really good high-end matchups potentially. Thoughts on that?
Okay, sorry, I'm trying to see your screen, but it's very pixelated on stream. So I'm trying to see. So we're talking about Seattle here. So we got, let's see, Braves, Royals, Padres. Oof. So Royals are probably going to bounce back because they were a yellow team this week. I don't see them as a yellow team going forward.
Yeah.
Padres with a strong week. Braves, I don't know. Mariners are going to have a tough time pulling out of it, but I think they probably go 2-1 this week. That's pretty fair.
I think all three of those matchups are going to be super close.
Absolutely. It's not going to be an easy week.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Okay, then next, well, I should ask, you want to go back and forth? Did you have anything specific any specific matchups you had, or do you want me to just go through mine?
Yeah, I probably need to go through yours. I'm trying to pull up your page right now.
Okay, no worries. So next I had Baltimore, who again I know I sort of talked down on maybe in our preseason pod, but they certainly came out just rolling out of the gates. They also have two really big matchups this week, again against Kansas City and Houston, which we could point out that Brendan has a couple of tough matchups obviously too then, but those will be two really, really good games to watch as well. Potentially two more top 10 matchups. My third one, speaking of Allen, he and his father face off this week. We got Rockies Padres. And Allen actually has three winnable matchups if his team plays well again. He's got Texas, San Diego, and Washington. So those will all be good matchups there as well. And then lastly, classic matchup, Yankees-Dodgers this week. Two of our top, or actually the two top teams, I believe if I remember correctly, Dodgers-Yankees 1-2 in the rankings, so they get to face off week 2. So it should be pretty fun to see.
Yeah, I'd say my story to watch would be the Nationals. Once again, trying to get some wins back. After a tough 0-3, they got the Mariners, Red Sox, and Tigers, which is are they going to go 0-6? It's possible.
Well, so that was week 1. You're looking at week 1.
I'm on week. Oh no! Hold on.
They
there
played,
it is.
They played Mariners.
I'm glad
Red
you
Sox,
caught me because
look who they play this week.
Wrong one open.
Look who they play this week though.
It doesn't get any easier. What the heck?
they get number 1, number 2, and number 9.
That's messed up. That's way worse.
So
never mind. That's way worse.
This is probably the hardest.
I wonder why I was stacked up.
Yeah, this is probably the hardest early season schedule.
Jeez,
five of the 6 teams in the top 10. That's pretty nuts. They get maybe a little bit better after that, but then even down here they got Braves, Royals, Astros.
Yeah. 0-6 is unfortunately very, very likely for this Nationals team.
Very
but
possible.
They don't deserve it, but it's not looking pretty.
Yeah. Wow. Crazy. All right. Well, that is it for us this week, at least on the schedule. Anything else you had, Cal, you wanted to throw in before we head out?
No, not at all. I'd say.
Oh, and then I think
it's going to be.
Go ahead. Sorry, I think I lost you for a second for some reason in transitioning between the scenes. So go ahead and say what you were just saying again.
Oh no! I'm just I'm very excited. This week 1, I think it's going to be the start of a beautiful season. It's not going to be good for me, but I'm going to be an objective observer from the basement, just watching you guys blossom. It's going to be a fun year, I hope. So
hey, someone's got to be down there, right?
Yeah, someone's got to do it. It's not an easy job. No one wants to do it. I'll do it.
I will not. I'm just going to say will not be down there with you for very long, but I'm enjoying my time with you down there right now. I'll at least say that. So
I appreciate the company.
If I just go 3-0 every week, but I sit in the red all year, Sounds good. Doesn't matter to me.
Absolutely. Wins the win. I mean, who cares?
Exactly. All right. Well, thanks guys for joining us. Hope all of you that are watching enjoyed it this week. Obviously, feel free, let us know what you thought in the chat, and we will look forward to seeing you all next week. Have a good one.
See you guys.